Welcome to Creation Station Weekly. I'm Bob from Creation Station. This is our weekly podcast where we put together a couple of fun, cool news stories, give you a little bit of insight into them, show you something fun from the library, and get you on your way in 12 to 15 minutes. This week, we have Nevin Gussick, who is the branch manager out at the Lauderhill Central Park Library. How are you doing today, Nevin?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here, Bob.
Thank you very much for coming. We've got a fun little theme today, I think. I'm going to dive right in and start sharing my browser for you. Our first story, our theme this week looks to be like AI, because there was just some really interesting stories this week in the first couple of days of the week that came out about some AI things and some other related topics to it. This first one that really caught my eye was in South Korea. They're using artificial intelligence, AI, artificial intelligence, to bring a dead singer back who has been dead since the 80s. And he is now going to be performing, quote unquote, live in concert here at the end of January. It's really a weird thing to me. He died, 96 is when he died. What do you think about this now? And what do you think about the bringing back old celebrities as part of this here?
Well, several thoughts came to my mind. I mean, number one, I've never heard of such a thing. It's absolutely amazing, and it made me reflect in a general sense on how technology has evolved in all 46 years of my life. I was born 1974. When computers were starting to get miniaturized, and now we've gotten to the point where literally we can capture voices and manipulate it literally after the singers or performers died to create entirely new songs. Absolutely incredible. I was wowed by this. I shared this with one of my staff members. I'm like, I never even heard of such a thing. And we also have to reflect on the fact that by the time I retire, knock on wood, in 2039, there's no way of telling where technology will be then. This will be considered obsolete. But at the same time, as much as we can get, excited about these new innovations of technology, as the article even pointed out, there's going to be copyright issues involved with that.
100%, yeah. That's what I find really interesting is that copyright thing. Because, we're just going to presume everybody understands the problems of deep fakes and getting something to look like someone saying something or whatever. But the interesting part for me is much more on the intellectual property, the IP side. Who owns that recording? Because this is a brand new thing. This is not recreating. This is not bringing up one of his old songs or something. This is a brand new song that the AI created. So does the computer algorithm own the music? Does the company who made the algorithm own the music? Does the legacy rights owner of this person, so his family, do they own the rights? This is brand new, intellectual property that's being created. And we're just, like you said, we're just on the cusp of this. What's going to happen? Where are we going with this kind of stuff that is going to create all this chaos in copyright and patent and all the other, intellectual property stuff?
Exactly. No, I agree with you. It's like, from my perspective, on the one hand, that person's voice is that person's property. And is there going to be a legacy where the families or the individual's agent and company representative, are they going to collect the royalties from this? Because there are endless financial opportunities that arise from this new technology. And I can predict court cases and push back to enact various laws or regulations on how to just handle this whole situation. That's what it comes down to it. Really, the person's voice is considered, from my perspective, almost could be considered that person's property.
And that is exactly.
It's how they generate their income and their livelihood.
And you led us perfectly into our next story, which is a Microsoft patent that that details all the tech about how to turn someone's digital life into an artificial intelligence, into a chatbot that you can interact with and work and go and do. Microsoft just got this patent this year. They applied for it back in 2017. It takes a while for patents to go through the system. And it's really interesting because the one thing that they actually have is Microsoft said, we have this patent and we're not going to use it. I was like, huh, they think it's too weird to create some of this stuff for Microsoft. Huh.
It is kind of creepy.
Yeah.
On the one hand, it is kind of creepy. The article used the word, I think, unnerving, and I kind of agree with that. I mean, the other side is that it's also used it could also be used to conjure up memories, hopefully happy memories and happy feelings, good feelings based on who that person was. I mean, the article compared this to prior technologies like old videotapes, voice recordings, etc. What is unique, obviously, is how they are able to draw upon this person's, I guess, social media history, just every documented piece of history where you can actually converse with this person. One thing comes to my mind is, of course, that I'm going to be curious about is how much of an authentic conversation can you have with this chatbot?
And again, see, and that's a really good point. Yeah, and that's where the artificial intelligence part comes in. I found this story from The Verge. It's an older story from 2015, where a woman in Russia, a software developer, who took the text messages and voice messages that her boyfriend had left when he died in a car accident, and she took all the stuff that she had from him and put it together into a chatbot. She recreated this whole thing. Let me bring up, as I scroll down through the story here, and we can see here's some chat logs here. So you can see the very basic stuff going back and forth with this. I'll bring up a full chat log that you can kind of see. It's not quite real interaction. It's like those old ELIZA programs that you would type in and you'd kind of get a programmed response and kind of back and forth. But it's interesting. It's an interesting way of doing it. But like you said, who should be doing this? Because again, now if I can just think about all those phishing attempts that I could do to you, if I can actually make someone's pretend to be speaking to you as I'm calling you on the phone to try and get your passwords out of you or get your bank account information. I mean, it's a really tricky world that we're slipping down into, and I don't think enough people understand all the ramifications of what's there.
Well, that was an issue that came up in the prior article that we discussed about the deceased South Korean singer whose voices now can be used, voice files can be used to create entirely new songs. There's a concern with that, as well as this article that we're discussing on fraud. Can you deploy these voice files with all the background knowledge of their chat histories and everything else to commit bank fraud, to commit password fraud? And this is where I would imagine you have to develop techniques as exist for today with regular online work for various forms of authentications, unique names, unique passwords, PIN confirmations, social security numbers. So this is going to spawn an entirely new security-related, not industry, but security-related concerns.
Oh, industry. There's going to be, if there's a way to make money on it, both to break into people, there'll be a way to make money on it to stop people from breaking into. There'll be a whole new industry built on this. They already do have those competing deepfake things where you build a model and then they've got tests that can break it down and say, no, that is a deepfake or not. And now they're going back and forth in those battles. So, yeah.
Yeah, these
I can
are
see
issues
exactly
that
what you're saying.
I mean, we were having the same conversations 20 years ago when you had the proliferation of information and entertainment on the internet. And we all had the similar conversations. E-commerce, oh my God, they're
Yep.
going to get my account. So in some ways, the old adage applies. You know, the more things change, the more things remain the same. And of course, you know, in 2039, you know, we're going to be, I can only imagine what kind of conversation we'll have. Maybe we will be able to have highly authentic conversations with chatbots that are more
Yeah.
advanced than the one we're discussing right now. So
Yeah.
you know,
If
we
we
also
had
have
more
to-
time, if we had more time, Nevin, we'd get into blockchain on that because that's one of the ways to handle that. But we gotta wrap this up in a minute. So what I want to do is I want to talk about one other story that was out there on AI that I thought was interesting, that caught my eye this morning. The reason this caught my eye yesterday, this article came out yesterday. Google is building into its new Android Auto system an AI that helps you when you're driving an electric car find the next charging station on the path as you're doing long trips. So the reason it caught my eye, I've been driving an electric car since 2015. I'm on my second model, about to get my third model. Different type of, I've been experimenting Nissan, Chevy, etc. Going long distance is a pain because you've got to try and figure out what point of your charge are you going to be, you know, 150 miles down the road. If I'm going to take a 500-mile trip where my range isn't a full 500 miles, etc. And I thought that this was okay, this is a cool little AI story to toss in here and it'll be fun. And, you know, we'll wrap up with this fun one until this morning's news article from GM. And you said 37 for other AI stuff. GM announced this morning that in 2035, they will cease making gasoline engines and diesel engines. Everything GM puts out from 2035 on is going to be electric. And I was just like, this is coming faster than anyone thought. Everyone was kind of thinking, yeah, you know, we're going to get electric cars, we're going to get AI, we're going to get these things, but it's this long, slow, grinding thing. I think we're about to hit that upward slope of adoption now where everything is just going to start flooding in on us. And it's just crazy.
And this article, the concerns brought about the article that we're discussing is pretty much going to be quickly obsolete. I mean, with the new administration, they're going to be promoting heavily the electric car usage, as well as the fact what you mentioned earlier is the car companies are going to be making quite a radical transition, you know, within what, like 10-year period, almost a little over 10 years to make this happen. So there's going to have to, obviously, the quote, not gas stations, but there's going to have to be standardization of charging stations, and just like it's going to follow the same route as probably the gas stations, where you're going to have, you know, all mapped out on Google and elsewhere. You're going to have the charging stations. You're going to be having, you know, where you can get particular types of chargers or whatnot. All the information is going to be there. So this article is almost going to be obsolete over time.
Yeah, and when they get the fast charging, and you just pull into a parking spot, and then you put it in the car, charge, go into the store, buy your snacks, sit down, eat dinner, come back out, and your car's fully charged. I cannot wait for that day. It's going to make my life so much easier.
It's going to be nice and hopefully cheaper than gas too, and less.
It's seriously cheaper than gas. My wife and I go back and forth about it all the time because I pay for virtually nothing for the electric to drive back and forth to work. It's great.
And it's good on the planet. It's good for the planet too, which also saves us long-term costs, social costs, environmental costs, etc.
Yeah, and we get to the recycling thing another week. And one of these other stories we'll do sometime. We'll do a whole recycling thing about solar panels and electric car batteries and how well we're recycling or not, as the case may be. But I always wrap up our show here with one cool thing from the library. And so today I wanted to bring up something that you probably don't know about out there. It's called, there's a whole science series of something for babies, neural networks for babies. I got a screenshot up on here for you of it. It's a board book that you can read with your kids that will teach you, both you and your kids most likely, about how neural networks work, or how astrophysics work, or how rocket science works, for those sorts of things. It's a really fun set. They're board books, so they're available in a lot of the libraries, even if you don't find them in the catalog. If you do your normal catalog search for artificial intelligence, you're going to find all the standard adult ones of, artificial intelligence for dummies and all the other textbook stuff. But we do have, by that author, some great stuff. Chris Ferrer, Goodnight Lab is my recommendation for it. It's a really fun book where, based on the idea, Goodnight Moon, and instead it's a young woman engineer who's Goodnight Lab, Goodnight. She's got a poster of Einstein up and stuff like that. So it's a really fun series out there for you. So if you're looking for something to get your toe into this artificial intelligence idea and you're not sure you want to dive into everything, come on in and try out some of these books from the library. Let me stop sharing this. So how are things out there at Lauderhill there? Nevin, tell us about what's going on out there.
Yes, slowly but surely we're getting people returning, which is always nice. I mean, it's of course a shadow of our pre-pandemic library usage, like most other locations, but we do have cool things going on. The first thing I'd like to share is we have our Mods Mobile coming to this particular location. We don't have a date set, but it is a monthly exhibit where you have various exhibits such as on flight and weather. We got a robot petting zoo, and we have STEAM with high tools where you create two-dimensional art, 3D designs, fabrics, using sewing machines, etc. So we're really looking forward to having that. We don't have any set dates yet, so I say to the public, make sure you monitor the library's website, www.broward.org/library. If you have any questions, feel free to call our library, or another library to speak to a reference staff member, and they'll be able to help you. Another thing I want to add, let me
just point in there for you, for Nevin. Mods, for anybody who's not familiar, Mods is the Museum of Discovery and Science. It's in downtown Fort Lauderdale. It's just 2 blocks away from the main library downtown. We interact with them a lot, back and forth with Creation Station stuff. Just in case, Nevin, somebody outside of Broward's listening to this, so they know what the heck Mods is all about. What else you got going on out there?
And they're more than welcome to come. I mean, it's free. It would be free admittance, and that's the really nice thing about these different library programs, library exhibits. They're free for the public. Great learning experiences, a lot of fun. So be sure to check us out, us as well as the other library programs that we're going to be having. We also have at the Lauderhill Central Park Library our Friends group facilitated and held back in August of 2020 a backpack school supply giveaway. We still have extras left. We've been giving them out to kids and families.
Excellent.
And we still have a lot more that we're giving away. Contains, some pencils, notebooks, school supplies for late elementary, early middle school students. So for those of you who want some extra school supplies and a really cool, nice blue tote bag, feel free to come to our library, and we'll be happy to give you one.
And it is a beautiful library. If anybody hasn't been out there, it's right next door to the cricket stadium. If you didn't know, Broward County has a full-blown cricket stadium, and that's out there at Lauderhill Central Park. And we've got a library out there and a performing arts center and everything else like that. So get out there and go take a look. And of course, you guys are still doing curbside service, so somebody could give you a call and arrange a pickup anyway without even having to come into the building.
Correct. We still have that service. That's right.
That is great. Well, thank you, Sir Nevin, for being with us today. And as always, for everybody, thank you for tuning in this week. Always Creation Station at broward.org. If you have any questions, ideas for a show, or you have your own favorite library and you want your library featured or a particular librarian, email us and we'll try and get them on the show. Thank you, everybody, very much for coming in. We'll see you next week.